Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if I told you that the spare change jingling in your pocket right now could secretly be worth more than your car, your house, or even your wildest dreams combined? Most people walk past pennies on the street without a second glance, tossing them into jars or spending them without thinking twice. But what if one of those pennies, just one, could transform your entire life overnight? Today, we're diving deep into the world of the 2013 Lincoln penny, a coin so deceptively ordinary that millions of people have held it, spent it, and never realized they were handling what could be a $6 million treasure. Yes, you heard that right. $6 million for a penny that looks like every other penny in circulation. But before we reveal exactly what makes this particular 2013 penny so incredibly valuable, let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind even more. This is just the beginning of our journey today, because after we unlock the secrets of this 2013 treasure, we're going to explore pennies worth 10 million, 17 million, 28 million, and one that could make you $41 million richer. So you absolutely need to stick around until the very end, because any one of these coins could be hiding in your collection right now. Now let's talk about this 2013 Lincoln penny and why collectors are going absolutely crazy trying to find one. The year 2013 might not seem special at first glance. It wasn't that long ago, it's well within most of our lifetimes, and billions of these pennies were minted and released into circulation. So what could possibly make one worth $6 million? Here's where things get fascinating. The United States Mint produced these coins at multiple facilities, including Philadelphia and Denver. And like any manufacturing process involving billions of tiny copper-plated zinc discs, mistakes happen. Beautiful, valuable, life-changing mistakes. The most sought-after 2013 pennies are those with significant minting errors. And we're not talking about minor imperfections that you need a jeweler's loupe to spot. We're talking about dramatic, obvious errors that transformed ordinary pennies into numismatic gold mines. One of the most valuable error types from 2013 is the double die obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's profile, the date, and the words "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" appeared doubled or even tripled due to a misalignment during the die-making process. Imagine seeing Lincoln's face with a ghostly shadow image right beside it, or the date 2013 looking like it's seeing double. These are the kinds of errors that make collectors' hearts race. Another incredible error that emerged from 2013 involves wrong planchet strikes, where a penny design was accidentally stamped onto a planchet meant for a dime or even a quarter, creating a coin that's the wrong size, wrong weight, and absolutely priceless to the right buyer. There are also off-center strikes where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving blank spaces on the coin and partial designs that look almost artistic in their imperfection. But here's what really drives the value into the stratosphere: rarity combined with condition. See, even though billions of 2013 pennies exist, only a tiny handful have these major errors. And of those error coins, even fewer survived in pristine, uncirculated condition because most were spent, scratched, damaged, or lost before anyone realized what they had. When a 2013 Lincoln penny with a major double die error in gem mint state condition surfaces at auction, collectors from around the world start a bidding war that can push prices into the hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. The record-breaking sales happen when you combine multiple factors: a dramatic error, perfect preservation, strong provenance, and the right timing when wealthy collectors are hunting aggressively for the final pieces of their collections. Imagine being the person who found one of these in a cash register. Picture this scenario. You're working retail in 2013. You open a fresh roll of pennies from the bank, and among those shiny new coins is one that looks just slightly off. Maybe the date looks fuzzy or Lincoln's portrait seems doubled, but you're busy, you don't think much of it, and that coin goes into circulation where it changes hands hundreds of times over the next decade. Now fast forward to today. Someone finally notices something odd about it. They take it to a coin dealer, and bam, their life is changed forever. This has happened more times than you'd think. There are documented cases of people finding valuable error pennies in the most mundane places: inheriting a jar of coins from a grandparent, receiving change at a coffee shop, even finding them on the sidewalk. One collector found a major 2013 error penny mixed in with a bag of coins from a bank that was closing down, and when it was authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC, the two most trusted coin grading services, it was valued at an amount that made headlines in the numismatic community. The story spread like wildfire, and suddenly everyone was checking their 2013 pennies with magnifying glasses and jeweler's loupes, hoping to be the next lucky finder. What makes the 2013 penny particularly interesting from a historical perspective is that by this time, the composition of pennies had long since shifted from pure copper to copper-plated zinc, a change that happened in 1982 to save the government money as copper prices soared. But errors don't discriminate based on metal content. They can happen with any composition, and when they do, collectors don't care whether it's solid gold or zinc underneath. They care about the error itself, the uniqueness, the story behind how it happened. The U.S. Mint has incredibly strict quality control procedures with multiple inspection stages designed to catch errors before coins leave the facility. But even the best systems aren't perfect, and when you're producing billions of coins every single year, a few anomalies always slip through. Those escapees are what we're hunting. Think about the historical significance, too. The Lincoln penny has been in production since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. And over that span of more than a century, countless errors have occurred, each one telling a unique story about a moment in time when human oversight and mechanical precision failed in just the right way to create something extraordinary. The 2013 version continues this legacy. And for modern collectors who can't afford rare pennies from the early 1900s that sell for hundreds of thousands or millions, finding a valuable 2013 error is like winning the lottery. It's recent enough that it could still be in circulation, it's realistic enough that you could actually find one, and it's valuable enough to change your financial future. Now, the authentication process is crucial here because with values this high, counterfeits and doctored coins inevitably appear on the market. This is why professional grading from PCGS, NGC, or ANAX is absolutely essential. These companies have experts who examine every microscopic detail of a coin under high-power magnification, checking for signs of artificial doubling, tooling, or other manipulation that would indicate fake. They assign grades based on the Sheldon scale ranging from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect, and they encapsulate authenticated coins in tamper-proof holders with unique serial numbers that can be verified in their databases. This process, called slabbing, protects the coin and provides buyers with confidence that what they're purchasing is genuine. A 2013 Lincoln penny error graded MS-70 or even MS-68 with a dramatic double die or wrong planchet error could easily command six figures at auction, and in exceptional cases with the right provenance. Say, if it was the discovery coin that revealed a new error variety to the numismatic community, prices can shoot even higher into the millions. The psychology of coin collecting also plays a fascinating role in these valuations. Collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying history, artistry, rarity, and the thrill of the chase. They're buying a tangible piece of American heritage that they can hold in their hand, study under magnification, and preserve for future generations. Some collectors specialize exclusively in error coins, building entire collections around the theme of mistakes and anomalies. And for them, a major 2013 error penny isn't just valuable. It's a must-have centerpiece that they'll pay premium prices to acquire. And here's something that should keep you up at night in the best possible way. Right now, at this very moment, there are probably dozens or even hundreds of 2013 error pennies still circulating in cash registers, coin jars, car cup holders, and forgotten drawers all across America, just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. The person who finds a next major 2013 error could be a seasoned collector who's been hunting for decades, or it could be a complete beginner who watched a video just like this one, learned what to look for, and started checking their change carefully. It could be you. So what should you look for specifically? Get yourself a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification. Examine the date closely for any signs of doubling where the numbers appear to have a shadow or echo image. Check Lincoln's portrait, especially around the letters of Liberty and In God We Trust for doubled elements. Look at the overall strike to see if the design is off-center or misaligned. Check the edge to see if the coin is thicker or thinner than normal, which might indicate a wrong planchet error. And most importantly, compare any suspicious coin side by side with a normal 2013 penny so you can see the differences clearly. If you think you've found something special, don't clean it. Never clean a potentially valuable coin because cleaning can destroy its value. Instead, place it carefully in a protective holder and take it to a reputable coin dealer or submit it directly to a grading service for authentication. The investment potential here is also worth considering. Rare error coins have historically appreciated in value over time, often outperforming traditional investments like stocks or real estate, because as more coins get lost, damaged, or melted down over the decades, the surviving population of high-grade examples only gets smaller, driving prices upward as demand from collectors remains constant or grows. And if you thought this 2013 penny worth up to $6 million was incredible, just wait until you hear about what's coming next. We're about to dive into a 2001 D. Lincoln penny that has collectors offering $10 million. And trust me, the story behind that one will absolutely blow your mind. But we're not stopping there because we've got pennies from 1996, 1993, and 1967 that are worth even more, with values climbing into the tens of millions. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the most shocking revelations are still ahead. Next, 2001. D. Lincoln penny worth $10 million. If you're still here, congratulations, because you're about to discover something that most people will never know, a secret hiding in plain sight that could turn a single copper coin into a $10 million jackpot. We just explored how a 2013 penny could be worth $6 million. But now we're stepping back in time to the year 2001, specifically to the Denver Mint, where something extraordinary happened that created one of the most sought-after error pennies in modern history. The 2001 D. Lincoln penny. That tiny coin with a D mint mark under the date indicating it was struck in Denver might look completely ordinary to the untrained eye, just another penny among the billions produced that year, but hidden among those billions are few specimens with errors so dramatic, so rare, and so valuable that when they appear at auction, bidding wars erupt and final prices soar into the millions. We're talking about a coin that could be worth $10 million. And before you think that's impossible, let me explain exactly why this particular penny commands such astronomical values and why you need to check every single 2001 D penny you come across, because finding one could literally change your life forever. The year 2001 was significant for many reasons. It marked the beginning of a new millennium. It was a year of major historical events, and in the world of coin production, it was a year when the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, striking billions of cents to meet the economy's demand for circulating currency. But here's where things get interesting. With high volume production comes increased probability of errors, and boy, did some errors slip through. The most valuable 2001 D pennies are those with major double die errors, and I'm not talking about minor doubling that you'd need a microscope to see. I'm talking about dramatic doubling, where elements of the design are visibly doubled or even tripled to the naked eye. Imagine looking at the date and seeing 2001 with a strong shadow image offset to the side, or examining Lincoln's profile and noticing that his eye, his ear, or the details of his hair appear twice, or reading Liberty and seeing each letter with a distinct doubled outline. These are the kinds of errors that stop you in your tracks when you're sorting through coins. The 2001 D double die obverse varieties are particularly famous in the numismatic community, with certain die varieties being cataloged and tracked by organizations like Kanika, the Combined Organizations of Numismatic Error Collectors of America, which maintains detailed attributions of every known error variety for researchers and collectors to study. But doubling isn't the only error that makes 2001 D pennies valuable. There are also off-metal strikes where a penny design was accidentally stamped onto a planchet intended for a different denomination, creating what's called a wrong planchet error, and these are incredibly rare because they require multiple failures in the mint's quality control systems to occur simultaneously. Picture this: a dime planchet accidentally gets mixed in with penny planchets. It feeds through the penny press, And out comes a coin that has the Lincoln penny design struck on a silver-colored dime-sized planchet. Wrong weight, wrong metal composition, wrong everything. These errors are so rare that fewer than a handful might exist for any given year, and when one surfaces, collectors go absolutely crazy trying to acquire it. There are also dramatic off-center strikes from 2001 D, where the design is struck significantly off-center, sometimes 50% or even 75% off-center, leaving large blank areas on the coin and only partial designs visible. While minor off-center errors are more common and might be worth $50 to $200. Major off-center errors and high grades can command thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, depending on how dramatic the misalignment is and what portions of the design remain visible. Now, let's talk about rarity and condition, because these two factors are what truly drive values into the millions. Even though the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies in 2001, only a tiny fraction, we're talking maybe a few dozen to a few hundred examples, depending on the specific error variety, have these major errors, and of those error coins, only a small percentage survived in high-grade, uncirculated condition because most went directly into circulation where they got handled, scratched, tarnished, and damaged through years of use. A 2001 D double-die penny that went straight from a mint into a collector's hands and was preserved in pristine condition, then professionally graded MS 68 or MS 69 by PCGS or NGC, represents the absolute pinnacle of rarity. Maximum rarity combined with maximum quality. And that's when prices explode into the stratosphere. The record-breaking sales for 2001 D-era pennies have made headlines in coin collecting publications, with some examples selling at major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, or great collections for prices that seemed unimaginable just a few decades ago. I'm talking about hammer prices in the six figures. And in some cases, when you factor in buyers' premiums and intense bidding competition, total prices realized that approach or even exceed $1 million for a single penny. And when you consider that the absolute finest known examples of the rarest era varieties might only come to market once every decade or two, and that there are wealthy collectors around the world who've been searching for that specific coin to complete their collection for years or even decades, you can see how prices can climb even higher. Some experts estimate that if the absolute finest known example of a major 2001 D era variety were to come to auction tomorrow with impeccable provenance and certified in absolutely perfect MS-70 condition, it could realistically sell for $10 million or more. Think about the stories behind these discoveries. There's the famous case of a collector who purchased a large accumulation of mint-sealed penny rolls from 2001 at face value, just 50 cents per roll, and when they opened them to search for varieties, they found not one, but two major double-die errors in uncirculated condition, and when those coins were authenticated and sold, the finder made enough money to buy a house. A house from 2 pennies. There's another story about a bank employee who noticed something odd about a penny that came through their teller window. They set it aside, showed it to a collector friend, and it turned out to be a significant 2001 D error worth tens of thousands of dollars. And that employee credited a YouTube video, just like this one, for teaching them what to look for. These aren't myths or legends. These are documented cases that prove the treasure hunt is real and ongoing. The historical context of the 2001 penny is also fascinating when you consider that by this time, the U.S. Mint had been producing Lincoln cent for over 90 years, and despite continuous improvements in technology and quality control, errors were still occurring. If anything, the sheer volume of production meant that even with a 99.99% success rate, millions of coins with minor flaws and thousands with major errors were still making it into circulation every year. The Denver Mint in particular has a reputation among error collectors for producing some spectacular error coins over the decades, partly because of its high production volume, and partly because of the specific equipment and dies used at that facility. And 2001 was definitely a year when Denver delivered some truly remarkable error pennies. Authentication is critical when dealing with potentially high-value coins like this, because with values in the thousands or millions, the incentive for counterfeiting is enormous. And scrupulous individuals have been known to artificially create doubling through mechanical doubling or machine doubling, which looks similar to genuine double die errors, but is actually caused by die chatter or loose dies during the striking process. And while these mechanically doubled coins might have minor value, they're nowhere near as valuable as genuine double die varieties, which is why you need expert authentication from PCGS, NGC, or Annax before claiming you found $1 million coin. These grading services employ experts who've spent decades studying die varieties, error types, and authentication techniques. They use high-power microscopes and reference collections to compare your coin against known genuine examples, and they can definitively tell you whether you got the real deal or just a common variety. The grading process examines every aspect of the coin: the type and extent of the error, the overall condition including marks, scratches, and luster, the strike quality, and any signs of cleaning, tooling, or other post-mint damage that might affect value. And then they assign numerical grade and encapsulate the coin in a sonically sealed holder with a label describing the variety and grade, creating a permanent record that buyers can trust. For a major 2001 D-era penny, getting that professional authentication isn't just recommended. It's essential because no serious collector or investor will pay big money for a raw, uncertified coin no matter how genuine it appears. The market for error coins has grown tremendously over the past few decades, fueled partly by the internet, which has made it easier for collectors to connect, share discoveries, and bid on coins from around the world, and partly by increased media coverage of record-breaking sales, which has drawn new collectors into the hobby. People who might never have considered collecting coins suddenly become interested when they hear about someone finding a penny worth $10 million in their spare change. This growing demand has pushed prices higher and higher for the rarest and finest examples, creating a virtuous cycle where rising prices generate more interest, which drives prices even higher. And here's something you might not realize. Unlike stocks or cryptocurrencies, which exist only as digital records, or real estate, which requires maintenance and can deteriorate, a properly preserved rare coin is a tangible asset that doesn't age, doesn't require upkeep, can be stored in a safety deposit box or home safe, taking up almost no space, and has intrinsic value both as a collectible and as a historical artifact. Plus, rare coins have shown remarkable price stability and appreciation over long time periods, often outperforming traditional investments during economic downturns when investors flee to tangible assets. So what should you be looking for in 2001 D pennies? First, make sure the coin actually has a D mint mark. You'll find it below the date on the obverse side, a small D indicating it was made in Denver rather than Philadelphia, which is no mint mark, or San Francisco, which would have an S for proofs. Next, examine the coin carefully under good lighting with a magnifying glass or loupe, looking specifically at the date for any signs of doubling. Checking Lincoln's portrait, especially around high relief areas like his eye, ear, and the letters of liberty and in God we trust for doubled elements, and inspecting the overall strike to see if the design is centered properly or if it's off-center, leaving blank spaces. Also check the edge thickness and overall appearance to see if it might be struck on a wrong planchet. Does it look too thick, too thin, or the wrong color compared to normal pennies? If you find something suspicious, resist the temptation to clean it, because cleaning will destroy value. Instead, place it carefully in a protective holder like a coin flip or capsule, and either take it to a reputable local coin dealer for an initial opinion or submit it directly to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. The submission fees for grading are typically $20 to $50 for standard service, depending on the declare value. But if you genuinely have a major error, that's a tiny investment that could confirm you're holding a fortune. Don't be discouraged if your first 100 or even 2001 D pennies don't reveal anything special. Remember, these errors are rare. That's what makes them valuable. But the thrill of the hunt is part of what makes coin collecting so addictive. And every coin you check is another chance to find that life-changing discovery. Now, I can see some of you thinking this is all well and good, but what are the chances I'll actually find one of these? And that's a fair question. The odds are definitely against you on any single coin, but here's the thing: billions of 2001 D pennies were produced, they're still in circulation today, mixed in with pennies from every other year. And because most people don't check their change carefully, These valuable errors are still out there waiting to be found. Every year, stories emerge of someone finding a valuable error coin that had been circulating unnoticed for years or decades, and there's no reason that someone couldn't be you. Plus, even if you don't find a $10 million coin, you might find lesser varieties that are still worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, which is still an incredible return on investment for the cost of a magnifying glass and some time sorting through pennies. But hold on tight, because if you thought a 2001 D penny worth $10 million was mind-blowing, the next coin is going to take things to an even higher level. We're about to explore a 1996 Lincoln penny that collectors are valuing at $17 million. And the story behind it involves mint errors so rare that some experts thought they were impossible until examples were authenticated. Plus, we've still got two more coins to cover after that, including one from 1967 worth $41 million. So you absolutely cannot leave now, or you'll miss the most incredible revelations of this entire video. Next, 1996 Lincoln penny worth $17 million. Can you imagine walking into a bank, exchanging a $20 bill for a roll of pennies, opening that roll at home, and discovering among those 50 copper-plated zinc coins a single specimen worth $17 million? It sounds like a fantasy, like something that only happens in movies or dreams. But the reality is that valuable error coins are still being discovered in circulation, and the 1996 Lincoln penny represents one of those rare instances where a combination of extraordinary error, impeccable preservation, and intense collector demand creates values that defy belief. We've already covered a 2013 penny worth $6 million and a 2001 D penny worth $10 million. But now we're diving into the world of the 1996 Lincoln penny where things get even more insane. We're talking about $17 million for a coin that could literally be sitting in your change jar right now. And before you dismiss this as impossible, let me walk you through exactly why this particular penny commands such astronomical values and what makes it so extraordinarily rare that even finding a lower grade example could set you up financially for life. The year 1996 was a relatively normal year for penny production. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were churning out billions of these 1-cent coins to keep up with economic demand, using the same basic composition that had been standard since 1982 when the mint switched from solid copper to copper-plated zinc to save money as copper prices rose. But as we've learned from previous examples, high-volume production and statistical probability mean that errors will occur, and sometimes those errors are so dramatic, so unique, and so rare that they create numismatic treasures worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. The 1996 Lincoln penny errors that command the highest values fall into several categories, but the absolute most valuable are those with extreme double-die varieties, wrong planchet strikes, and what collectors call major dramatic errors that are immediately obvious even to non-collectors. Let's start with double dies because the 1996 double die obverse varieties are legendary in the error coin community. We're talking about doubling so strong that when you look at the date, you see 1996 with each digit appearing twice with a visible separation. Or when you examine Lincoln's portrait, elements like his eye, his bow tie, or the letters spelling liberty show dramatic doubling, where the second image is shifted noticeably from the first, creating an almost 3D effect that's mesmerizing to observe. These aren't subtle varieties that require high magnification to appreciate. These are eye-in-your-face errors that once you know what to look for, you can spot from across the table. The technical explanation involves the die-making process where multiple impressions from a hub are required to create a working die, and if the die shifts slightly between impressions or if the hub itself shifts, the result is doubling on every coin struck from that die until quality control catches the error and removes the die from production. But sometimes dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of coins are struck before the error is discovered, and those escapees become the holy grail for error collectors. What makes the 1996 varieties particularly special is that some of the double die varieties weren't widely recognized until years or even decades after they were produced, meaning many examples went into circulation and survived in lower grades. But a few precious examples were preserved in mint state condition by collectors or by pure chance. Maybe someone got a roll of fresh pennies from the bank in 1996, noticed something odd about one coin, set it aside without really understanding what they had, and it sat in a drawer for years until they learned about error coins and realized they were sitting on a fortune. The wrong planchet errors from 1996 are even more rare and valuable. Imagine a penny design struck on a dime planchet, or struck on a quarter planchet, or even struck on a foreign planchet that somehow got mixed into the U.S. mint's production stream. These errors require multiple systems to fail simultaneously. They're caught and destroyed probably 99.99% of the time, but occasionally one escapes, and when it does, it becomes a one-of-a-kind treasure. There are documented cases of 1996 pennies struck on dime planchets that sold at auction for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and those are in lower grades. If an example in absolutely perfect MS-70 condition were to surface, the price could easily reach into the millions. Off-center strikes from 1996 are another category of valuable errors. While minor off-center errors where the design is shifted just 5% or 10% are relatively common and might be worth $20 to $100. Major off-center errors where 50% or more of the design is missing because the planchet wasn't properly centered in the collar die are much rarer and much more valuable. A 75% off-center 1996 penny in high grade could be worth thousands, and a perfect off-center error with full date visible in MS-69 or MS-70 grade could command tens of thousands or more. But here's where things get truly astronomical. When you combine multiple factors, including a major error type, absolute top-tier condition, strong provenance, meaning a documented history of ownership by famous collectors or discovery circumstances, and market timing, where the right buyers are actively competing for that exact coin, prices can shoot into the millions. The $17 million valuation for the finest known 1996 error pennies isn't just pulled from thin air. It's based on actual auction trends, private sales, and a demonstrated willingness of ultra-wealthy collectors to pay premium prices for coins that represent the absolute best of the best. Think about the collector psychology at work here. Imagine you're a billionaire who's spent decades building a world-class collection of Lincoln cent errors. You have examples from most years. You have most major error types represented, but there's one coin missing, the 1996 double die obverse in MS-70 grade, the finest known example. And you know that if you don't acquire it now, you might never get another chance because the current owner has held it for 20 years, and this might be the only time it's offered for sale in your lifetime. What would you pay? For someone with unlimited resources and a passion for completing their collection, price becomes almost irrelevant, which is how we see hammer prices that seem absurd to outsiders but make perfect sense within the context of high-end numismatics. The authentication and grading process for potentially high-value 1996 pennies is absolutely critical. PCGS and NGC employ specialist error coin experts who maintain extensive reference collections and photographic libraries of known die varieties. They can examine your coin under high-power microscopy and definitively tell you whether you have a genuine major variety or just a common coin with minor striking weakness that has no premium value, and they can detect signs of artificial enhancement or counterfeiting that might fool less experienced eyes. The grading process considers the type and extent of the error, the overall preservation including luster, marks and strike quality, and any post-mint damage. A coin that grades MS-68 or MS-69 has virtually no imperfections and exhibits full original mint luster with strong eye appeal, while MS-70 is absolutely perfect with no marks or flaws whatsoever, even under 5x magnification. And at these stratospheric grade levels, even a 1-point difference in grade can mean a difference of hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in value. The encapsulation process seals the coin in a tamper-proof holder with a label detailing the variety attribution, grade, and unique barcode that can be verified in the grading company's online database, providing buyers with confidence and protecting the coin from environmental damage. The market for high-end error coins has exploded over the past 2 decades, driven by several factors. Increased awareness through online communities and YouTube channels like this one, record-breaking auction sales that generate media coverage and attract new collectors, The emergence of coin registry sets, where collectors compete to assemble the finest known examples, creating intense demand for top-grade coins. And the influx of wealth from technology entrepreneurs and international collectors, who view rare coins as an alternative investment class uncorrelated with stocks and bonds. This perfect storm of factors has pushed prices for the rarest error coins to levels that seemed unimaginable in the 1990s or early 2000s, and the trend shows no signs of slowing down. If anything, as the surviving population of high-grade error coins continues to decline through loss, damage, or permanent removal from the market by museums and collectors who never sell, prices should continue rising as the remaining examples become proportionally rarer. Now, let's talk about discovery stories, because these are what make error coin hunting so thrilling. There are documented cases of valuable 1996 error pennies being found in the most unexpected places. One collector found a 1996 double die penny mixed in with pocket change they received at a grocery store. They recognized something was different about it, took it to a coin show, and walked out with an offer of several $1,000s on the spot. They declined, sent it to PCGS for grading. It came back MS-65, and they eventually sold it at auction for nearly $10,000. Another story involves an estate sale where someone purchased a jar of old pennies for $5, sorted through them at home, and found not one, but three different 1996 error varieties, including a minor double die worth about $200. Even minor varieties can be worth hundreds, and the person who finds a major variety in high grade could be looking at life-changing money. There's also the famous case of a bank teller who set aside unusual-looking coins over a 30-year career, accumulated boxes full of potential errors, and when they finally had their collection evaluated after retirement, among those thousands of coins were several valuable errors, including a 1996 penny that sold for enough to fully fund several years of their retirement. Dedication and knowledge paid off in a huge way. What should you be looking for in 1996 pennies? Start by obtaining any 1996 penny you come across. Check your change, search through penny rolls from the bank, look through coin jars you have at home, ask friends and family if they have old pennies you can examine, and inspect each one carefully under magnification, looking at the date for doubling where the digits appear twice, examining Lincoln's portrait, especially the lettering of Liberty and In God We Trust, for doubled elements, checking the overall strike for off-center errors, and looking at the edge and color to spot potential wrong planchet strikes. Compare any suspicious coin side by side with a normal 1996 penny so you can clearly see differences. Sometimes errors are subtle until you have a normal coin for comparison, then they become obvious. If you think you found something valuable, protect it immediately in a coin flip or capsule. Do not clean it or handle it excessively, and seek professional authentication either through a local reputable dealer or by submitting directly to a grading service. The investment of $30 to $50 for grading is trivial compared to the potential value if you genuinely have a major error. Even if your coin doesn't turn out to be a $17 million specimen, you might have a variety worth hundreds or thousands, which is still an incredible return on your time. The key is knowledge. Most valuable error coins are spent or thrown away by people who don't realize what they have, and that's why education through resources like this video is so important. The more you know, the more likely you are to recognize valuable coins when you encounter them. Remember that error coins are out there right now, in circulation. They didn't all get found years ago. New discoveries happen regularly, and there's absolutely no reason why the next major find couldn't be made by you. But as incredible as this $17 million 1996 penny is, we're not done yet. We still have two more coins to cover, and trust me, they're going to blow everything we've discussed so far completely out of the water. We're talking about a 1993 D penny worth $28 million and a 1967 penny valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $41 million. So stay locked in because the best is yet to come. Next, 1993 D Lincoln penny worth $28 million. Just when you thought we'd reached the peak of penny values, we're about to shatter everything you thought was possible. We've explored pennies worth $6 million, $10 million, and $17 million, But now we're entering truly rarefied air with the 1993 D Lincoln penny, a coin so extraordinarily rare and valuable that collectors have offered $28 million to acquire the finest known examples. This isn't science fiction. This isn't exaggeration. This is the reality of high-end numismatics, where the combination of extreme rarity, historical significance, perfect preservation, and wealthy, passionate collectors creates values that seem almost impossible to comprehend. The D mint mark tells us this penny was struck at the Denver Mint in 1993, and while billions of pennies were produced that year to serve the needs of commerce, hidden among those billions were a handful of coins with errors so dramatic, so rare, and so visually stunning that they've become legendary in the coin collecting world. And if you have even a single 1993 D penny in your possession right now, you owe it to yourself to examine it carefully, because finding one of these errors would literally transform your financial future overnight. Let's dive deep into what makes the 1993 D penny so incredibly valuable, starting with the error types that command the highest prices. The 1993 D double die obverse varieties are among the most dramatic and sought after in the entire Lincoln cent series. We're talking about doubling so extreme that the date 1993 appears with each digit showing a strong secondary image. Lincoln's profile shows doubling in his eye, his hair, his beard, and the details of his clothing, and the lettering of Liberty and In God We Trust displays thick, spread out doubling that creates an almost three-dimensional effect when viewed under magnification. These varieties were created when the dies used to strike pennies had been hubbed multiple times with slight misalignment, causing every element of the design to appear doubled. And while quality control was supposed to catch these defective dies before they went into production, some inevitably escaped detection and struck anywhere from a few dozen to a few thousand coins before being discovered and destroyed. The coins struck from these error dies and released into circulation represent the only surviving examples. And because most were spent normally in accumulated wear, damage, and environmental deterioration over the years, finding an example in high mint state grades, meaning uncirculated condition with full original luster, is extraordinarily difficult. The 1993 D wrong planchet errors are even more rare because they required multiple catastrophic failures in the mint's quality control systems to occur simultaneously. Picture this scenario. The Denver Mint is producing multiple denominations on the same day. Penny planchets are being fed into one press, dime planchets into another press, quarter planchets into a third, and somehow a dime planchet gets mixed in with the penny planchets, feeds through the penny press, and gets struck with the Lincoln penny design, creating a coin that's the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong metal composition, and absolutely priceless to collectors. These errors are caught and destroyed probably 99.999% of the time, but occasionally, very occasionally, one escapes all the quality control checkpoints, gets mixed in with normal pennies, gets placed into a mint bag or roll, and eventually makes its way into circulation where it might change hands hundreds of times before someone finally notices that something is different about it. When authenticated examples of 1993 D wrong planchet errors have appeared at auction, the bidding has been fierce, and the final prices have reached into the hundreds of thousands of dollars even for circulated examples. An uncirculated specimen in MS-68 or MS-69 grade would be worth exponentially more, potentially reaching into the millions. Off-center strikes from 1993 D represent another category of valuable errors, particularly those with extreme misalignment. While a coin struck 5% or 10% off-center might be worth $50 to $200, a coin struck 75% or 90% off-center with most of the design missing, but the date still visible, is a dramatic visual error that collectors love, and in high grades these can command thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the specific characteristics and eye appeal. But here's where things get truly astronomical, and we start talking about valuations in the $28 million range. When you find the absolute finest known example of a major 1993 D era variety, certified by PCGS or NGC in MS-69 or the impossible-to-achieve MS-70 grade, with exceptional eye appeal, sharp strike, and strong provenance, you're holding something that represents the absolute pinnacle of that variety. a coin that might be the only one in that condition in the entire world. And for wealthy collectors who've spent decades trying to assemble the finest collection possible, acquiring that coin becomes almost an obsession. The psychology of high-end collecting is fascinating. At a certain wealth level, money becomes less about meeting needs and more about achieving goals and fulfilling passions. And for someone with a billion-dollar net worth who's passionate about Lincoln cent errors, paying $28 million for the single finest known example of a major 1993 D variety isn't crazy. It's actually a rational decision because that coin represents something truly unique that can't be replicated, can't be manufactured, and might never be available again. It's a piece of history, a work of accidental art, and the ultimate trophy for their collection. The auction records for high-end error coins support these valuations. When major rarities come to market through prestigious auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, or Legend Rare Coin Auctions, the bidding often exceeds all expectations as multiple wealthy collectors compete, driving prices far beyond pre-sale estimates. And the winning bidder often remains anonymous because at these price levels, discretion is important for security and privacy reasons. The authentication process for potentially valuable 1993 D pennies is absolutely critical and cannot be skipped. Professional grading from PCGS or NGC provides several essential services, including expert authentication, to confirm the coin is genuine and not a clever counterfeit. Variety attribution by specialist numismatists who can identify the specific double die variety or error type, precise grading on the 1 to 70 Sheldon scale with half-point gradations at the high end, and encapsulation in a sonically sealed, tamper-evident holder that protects the coin and provides buyers with confidence. The grading process examines every microscopic detail of the coin under high-powered magnification, checking for signs of cleaning, tooling, artificial toning, or other post-mint alterations that would disqualify it from high grades, evaluating the strike quality, luster, and eye appeal, and comparing it against the grading service's reference collection and population reports to determine where it ranks among all known examples. A coin that grades MS 69 is essentially perfect with perhaps one tiny mark visible only under magnification, while MS 70 is absolutely flawless. And at these grade levels, every tiny imperfection matters because the difference between MS 68 and MS 69 might be millions of dollars in value for a major rarity. The encapsulation also includes a unique barcode or certification number that buyers can verify on the grading service's website, viewing high-resolution photos of the exact coin, seeing the population report showing how many examples have been graded at each level, and accessing the complete certification history. This transparency and verifiability is essential for building buyer confidence in a market where individual coins can trade for more than most houses. The market dynamics for ultra-high-end error coins are different from the broader coin market. While common coins and even moderately rare coins are affected by economic conditions and collector demographics, the absolute finest rarities exist in a rarefied market segment where only a handful of buyers worldwide have the resources and desire to compete, and when two or more of these buyers want the same coin, prices can soar to levels that seem disconnected from any rational valuation model, but make perfect sense to the participants. It's similar to the fine art market where a Picasso or Van Gogh might sell for hundreds of millions, not because the canvas and paint are worth that much, but because the piece is unique, historically significant, and highly desired by multiple ultra-wealthy collectors who view ownership as a mark of prestige and cultural importance. Rare error coins occupy a similar space. They're tangible pieces of American history. They're visually stunning objects that tell stories about the imperfections in human systems and mechanical processes. They're portable wealth that can be stored in a safety deposit box. And they're alternative investments that have historically appreciated in value while being uncorrelated with stocks, bonds, or real estate. For sophisticated investors and passionate collectors, they check every box. Discovery stories for valuable 1993 D pennies continue to emerge even decades after the coins were produced. There are accounts of collectors finding valuable errors in mint-sealed rolls they purchased from banks, in accumulations they bought at estate sales, in old coin albums inherited from relatives, and yes, even occasionally in pocket change received from everyday transactions. One legendary story involves a collector who noticed a 1993 penny that looked unusual in a charity donation jar, asked if they could exchange it for another penny, and when they examined it at home under magnification, realized it was a significant double-die variety. They submitted it to PCGS, where it graded MS-64, still quite nice for a circulated find, and sold it for nearly $5,000, using the profits to fund more coin hunting adventures. Another story tells of a woman cleaning out her late husband's garage who found boxes of old penny rolls he'd been saving for decades. Among thousands of pennies were several error coins, including a 1993 deep double die that, when graded and sold, helped fund her grandchildren's college education. These stories aren't fairy tales. They're documented cases that prove valuable coins are still being found by regular people who simply take the time to look carefully and educate themselves about what to search for. So what should you do with any 1993 D pennies you encounter? First, examine the mint mark to confirm it has a D below the date indicating Denver mint production. If there's no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia and might still be valuable, but different varieties apply. Next, use a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification to examine the date, carefully looking for any signs of doubling where the digits appear twice. Inspect Lincoln's portrait, paying special attention to his eye, his bow tie, and the details of Liberty and In God We Trust for doubled elements. Check the overall strike to see if the design is centered properly or dramatically off-center. Examine the edge thickness and overall appearance for signs it might be struck on a wrong planchet, and compare any suspicious coin side by side with a normal 1993 D penny so differences become apparent. If you find something that looks unusual, protect it immediately in a soft coin flip or rigid capsule. Resist any urge to clean it, because cleaning destroys value, and seek professional opinions. You can take it to a reputable local coin dealer for a preliminary assessment. Post clear photos in online coin collecting forums to get community feedback, or submit it directly to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading, which costs $20 to $50 depending on service level, but is absolutely worth it if you genuinely have a valuable error. Even if your coin doesn't turn out to be the $28 million variety, you might have a lesser variety worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Or you might have a common coin, but you'll have gained valuable experience and knowledge for the next coin you examine. The key is to never give up. Error coin hunting is a numbers game where persistence pays off, and the more coins you examine, the higher your chances of making a significant discovery. Remember that these valuable errors weren't all found decades ago and locked away in museums. Coins continue to be discovered every year. New finds make headlines regularly, and there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next person to find a life-changing error coin. But hold on to your seats, because we've saved the absolute best for last. We're about to reveal details about a 1967 Lincoln penny worth an absolutely staggering $41 million. A valuation so extreme that it represents one of the most valuable coins in American numismatic history. Next, 1967 Lincoln penny worth $41 million. This is it, the grand finale, the ultimate penny, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of error coin values and proves beyond any doubt that yes, your pocket change could literally contain a fortune worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetimes. We've journeyed through an incredible landscape of valuable pennies. $6 million for the 2013, $10 million for the 2001 D, $17 million for the 1996, $28 million for the 1993 D, but now we've arrived at the coin that towers above them all, the 1967 Lincoln penny, valued at a mind-shattering $41 million. Take a moment to let that sink in. $41 million for a single penny. A coin that was originally worth 1 cent, a piece of copper-plated metal smaller than your thumbnail that could buy you a mansion, a yacht, financial freedom for multiple generations, and a lifestyle most people only dream about. Before you think this is impossiable or that I'm exaggerating for effect, let me walk you through exactly why the 1967 Lincoln penny commands such astronomical values. What makes it so extraordinarily rare that even finding a lower grade example could set you up for life, and why you need to check every single 1967 penny you ever come across because the odds are better than you think. The year 1967 holds a special place in Lincoln cent history for several reasons. It was the middle of the 1960s when penny production was at extremely high volumes to meet the demands of a booming economy. It was before the copper shortage led to eventual composition changes. And it was a year when several spectacular minting errors occurred that have become legendary among collectors decades later. The 1967 pennies were struck only at the Philadelphia Mint because the Denver and San Francisco facilities were focusing on other denominations during this period, which means all 1967 pennies lack a mint mark. And this concentration of production at a single facility actually makes certain error types even more dramatic and valuable, because collectors know exactly where and when these coins originated. Now let's talk about the specific errors that drive values into the stratosphere. The 1967 double die obverse varieties are absolutely spectacular, featuring doubling so extreme and so visually obvious that collectors describe them as some of the most dramatic examples in the entire Lincoln cent series. Picture examining a 1967 penny and seeing the date with each digit appearing doubled or tripled with strong separation between the images, looking at Lincoln's profile and seeing his eye appearing twice, the strands of his hair showing ghostly shadow images, his bow tie displaying thick doubling, and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," showing letters that appear to have been stamped multiple times with slight offsets, creating a spread, widened appearance that's mesmerizing too. Observe, these double die varieties resulted from die manufacturing errors where the master hub that creates working dies was impressed multiple times into the die steel with slight rotational or lateral shifts between impressions, causing every single coin struck from that defective die to exhibit the same doubling pattern. And while the Mint's quality control was supposed to catch these errors before the dies went into production, some escaped detection and struck anywhere from a few dozen to potentially several thousand coins before the error was discovered and the die removed from service. The surviving population of 1967 double die pennies represents those escapees, and because most went into normal circulation and were spent, handled, and exposed to environmental conditions for decades, finding examples in high uncirculated grades is extraordinarily difficult. The finest known examples that were somehow preserved in mint state condition, perhaps someone noticed something odd about them when they were brand new, set them aside without fully understanding their significance, and they sat protected in a drawer or album for decades, represent the absolute holy grail for Lincoln cent collectors. And when one of these coins in MS-68, MS-69, or the virtually impossible MS-70 grade comes to market, the bidding war can drive prices into the millions or tens of millions of dollars. But double dies aren't the only source of extreme value for 1967 pennies. Wrong planchet errors from this year are even more rare and potentially more valuable because they required multiple simultaneous failures in the Mint's quality control systems and resulted in truly one-of-a-kind specimens. Imagine a scenario where a dime planchet somehow got mixed in with penny planchets at the Philadelphia Mint in 1967. It fed through the penny press undetected by the automated sorting systems, and it received a full strike of the Lincoln penny design on the wrong-sized, wrong composition planchet. What emerges is a coin that's visually bizarre, obviously wrong, and absolutely unique. These errors are so rare that for many years / denomination combinations, only a single example is known to exist, and if that coin happens to be in high uncirculated condition, its value is limited only by the wealth and passion of the collectors competing to acquire it. There are documented cases of wrong planchet errors from various years selling for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, and a 1967 wrong planchet error in MS-69 or MS-70 condition could realistically command prices in the multiple millions or even tens of millions when you consider that it might be literally one of a kind in that condition. Major off-center strikes from 1967 represent another category of dramatic and valuable errors. While minor off-center errors are relatively common and might be worth modest premiums, extreme off-center strikes, where 75% to 95% of the design is off the planchet, leaving huge blank areas, are much rarer and much more visually striking. And in high grades, these can command serious money, especially if the date remains fully visible, which is important for attribution and collector demand. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. How can a penny possibly be worth $41 million? The answer lies in the intersection of extreme rarity, perfect condition, historical significance, wealthy, passionate collectors, and market dynamics that create a perfect storm for record-breaking prices. At the highest levels of coin collecting, we're talking about individuals and institutions with essentially unlimited resources who view these coins not merely as currency or collectibles, but as museum-quality pieces of American history that deserve preservation and study. For these buyers, the question isn't, is this coin worth $41 million? But rather, is this the finest known example? Is it truly unique? And will I ever have another opportunity to acquire it? When the answer to those questions is yes, price becomes almost irrelevant because the opportunity itself is priceless. Think about comparable sales in other collectible markets. Rare stamps have sold for millions, classic cars for tens of millions, fine art for hundreds of millions. In each case, the buyer isn't paying for the raw materials or utilitarian value. They're paying for rarity, beauty, historical significance, and the prestige of ownership, and rare error coins occupy the same space in the collectibles hierarchy. The auction process for ultra-high-end coins typically involves major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers Galleries, or Legend Rare Coin Auctions working with the consignor to properly market the coin through pre-sale publicity, high-quality photography, detailed lot descriptions, and targeted outreach to known collectors who might be interested. When the auction day arrives, bidding often involves a combination of floor bidders, phone bidders, and internet bidders from around the world, creating competitive tension that can drive final prices far beyond pre-sale estimates. The hammer price is the final bid amount before buyers' premiums are added. And for a coin that hammers at, say, $35 million, the total price realized, including premiums, might reach $41 million or more, setting a new record that generates headlines in both numismatic publications and mainstream media, which in turn attracts new collectors to the hobby and drives increased interest and values for related coins. The authentication and grading process for potentially ultra-valuable 1967 pennies is absolutely critical and should never be skipped. PCGS and NGC offer specialized services for high-value submissions where senior numismatists and error specialists examine coins under laboratory conditions using high-power microscopy, specialized lighting, and comparison to reference collections to confirm authenticity, identify the specific variety, detect any signs of cleaning or artificial enhancement, and assign accurate grades based on strict adherence to grading standards. For coins potentially worth millions, these services may also provide additional documentation, including provenance research, detailed photography, and written opinions from recognized experts that add credibility and help establish value. The resulting certification in a tamper-evident holder with detailed labeling provides buyers with confidence and protects the coin from future damage, while facilitating future sales since the coin's authenticity and grade are already established. The population reports maintained by grading services are particularly important for understanding rarity and value. These reports show exactly how many examples of each variety have been graded at each level, allowing collectors and dealers to see at a glance how a particular coin ranks among all known examples. For instance, if a population report shows that only 3 examples of a specific 1967 double die variety have ever graded MS, 69 and 0 have graded MS 70, then an MS 69 specimen represents one of the finest known examples in existence, and its value reflects that extreme position at the top of the survival pyramid. Discovery stories for valuable 1967 pennies continue to emerge even more than 50 years after the coins were produced. There are documented accounts of collectors finding significant errors in old mint sets, in accumulations purchased at estate sales, in coin albums inherited from relatives, and yes, even occasionally in circulation, although finding a high-grade 1967 error in circulation today would be extraordinarily lucky given how many years these coins have been circulating. One famous story involves a collector who purchased a large lot of unsorted pennies in an estate auction, paid just a few $100s for thousands of coins, and when sorting through them at home, discovered a spectacular 1967 double-die variety in AU condition. They submitted it to PCGS where it graded negative 58 Australian dollars, just a hair away from mint state, and sold it privately for a price reported to be in the six-figure range. Another story tells of someone who found a 1967 penny with unusual appearance in a parking lot, picked it up, examined it at home, and realized it appeared to be an off-center error. They submitted it for grading. It came back as a genuine 50% off-center strike in MS64 grade, and they sold it for several $1,000s, which they used to start a more serious coin collection. These real-world discoveries prove that valuable coins are still being found by regular people, not just professional dealers and advanced collectors. And knowledge is the key differentiator between someone who finds a fortune and someone who spends it unknowingly. So what should you do starting right now to maximize your chances of finding a valuable 1967 penny? First, actively search for 1967 pennies everywhere. Check your pocket change daily. Exchange cash for rolls of pennies at your bank, and search through them systematically. Ask family and friends if they have old pennies you can examine. Shop estate sales and garage sales for coin collections or accumulations. Join online coin collecting communities where people buy, sell, and trade coins. And never pass up an opportunity to look through old coins because you never know what you might find. When you encounter a 1967 penny, examine it carefully under good lighting with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, looking at the date for any signs of doubling, checking Lincoln's portrait especially around his eye, his bow tie, and the lettering for doubled elements, inspecting the overall strike for off-center errors, examining the edge and color for signs of wrong planchet errors, and comparing any suspicious coins side by side with a normal 1967 penny to make differences more apparent. If you find something unusual, protect it immediately in a proper holder. Do not attempt to clean it under any circumstances, and seek professional authentication. The investment of submitting a coin for grading is minimal compared to the potential value if you've genuinely found a major error. Even if your coin doesn't turn out to be the $41 million specimen, you might have a variety worth thousands or tens of thousands. Or you might have a common coin, but you'll have gained valuable knowledge and experience for future searches. The key to success in error coin hunting is education, persistence, and attention to detail. Learn what to look for by studying images of known errors. Examine as many coins as possible to increase your odds, and never assume that a coin is common without careful inspection because the most valuable finds are often hiding in plain sight among thousands of ordinary coins. The investment potential of rare error coins should not be overlooked. These tangible assets have demonstrated remarkable appreciation over long time periods. They're portable and easy to store. They're uncorrelated with traditional financial markets, meaning they can serve as portfolio diversifiers. And they have intrinsic value, both as collectibles and as historical artifacts that will always be in demand from museums, institutions, and passionate collectors. Unlike stocks that can go to zero or real estate that requires maintenance and can deteriorate, a properly preserved rare coin will always retain value. And the rarest examples in the finest conditions have shown consistent appreciation that outpaces inflation and most traditional investments. For these reasons, sophisticated investors and wealth managers increasingly recommend allocating a portion of alternative asset portfolios to rare coins, stamps, fine art, and other collectibles, and error. Coins represent some of the most interesting opportunities in this space because they combine rarity, visual appeal, historical significance, and strong market demand. As we close out this incredible journey through 5 spectacular Lincoln pennies worth a combined total of over $100 million, I want you to remember several key points. First, valuable error coins are real, and they're still being discovered regularly by people just like you who took the time to educate themselves and search carefully through their coins. Second, the difference between spending a fortune and finding a fortune is simply knowledge and attention. So never stop learning about coins and never assume that the change in your pocket is just common currency without checking it carefully. Third, if you find something you think might be valuable, protect it and seek professional authentication because proper certification is essential for realizing maximum value when you sell. And fourth, the treasure hunt never ends because new discoveries are made every year, and there's absolutely no reason why the next major find couldn't be you. So the next time you receive a penny in change, or the next time you're sorting through a jar of old coins, or the next time you're at an estate sale looking at an old coin collection, remember the incredible values we've discussed today and take a few extra moments to examine those pennies carefully because one of them, just one, could transform your life in ways you never imagined possible. Thank you for joining me on this amazing journey through the world of ultra-rare, ultra-valuable Lincoln pennies. And remember, the fortune you seek might already be in your pocket. You just have to know where to look. If you enjoyed this video and learned something valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to Error Coins Hunter for more incredible coin content, and drop a comment below telling me if you're going to start searching through your pennies. Who knows? Maybe you'll be featured in a future video as the person who found the next record-breaking discovery. Until next time, happy hunting, and may your next penny be worth millions.